the love and respect of the music, this is Bridging the Gap. For the love and respect of the music, this is Bridging the Gap. Bridging the Gap, yeah.
Hi, I'm John Akyuz. I am the host for Bridging the Gap. Bridging the Gap for understanding and respect of bluegrass, country, blues, rock and roll, and heavy metal.
Hi, I'm the co-host for this segment of Bridging the Gap. My name's Camille Mosley. I am Calamity Jane's booking and promotion as well. My artist that I manage full-time is the Justin Crider country band that represented another segment of this show today. I also book other bands and work with other venues. I am very pleased to be asked and honored to be part of Bridging the Gap. I would like to now introduce to you Mr. Alan Hicks and Millard Edwards. They will be representing Bluegrass for us today. Why don't y'all tell us a little bit about your bluegrass in your life?
I'm Alan Hicks, and I build music instruments. I have a love for bluegrass music. Always have. I like to go back and hear the old stuff. But we didn't think about it. We have a bluegrass jam every Friday night. Been going for about 15 years. We're a member of the Crooked Road, affiliated venue.
And where is that located, sir?
It's 1844 Bethel Road in Nicholasville, Virginia. Every Friday night, about 7 o'clock.
Sounds like fun.
Sure is. Meet a lot of people and have a lot of different people.
But anyway, if you wouldn't mind, I've got a quick question I would like to ask. How did you start? What age did you start learning an instrument?
At what age? I've always been a fan of bluegrass music, but the jam just started. I had a woodworking shop, and boys started coming in, playing, and that's where it started. It just kept growing, and it's still going after about 15 years. We've had to expand 2 or 3 different times, but it's come a long way. We've had people there from about every state in the Union and several foreign countries.
Wow, that's wonderful.
Well, Alan, he won't tell it on himself, but he plays the harp. He plays harmonica, yeah, and but he builds mandolins, and builds a beautiful mandolin, good sounding mandolin, in A style and F style both, and he does a great job. He really does.
Thank you, Mr. Evans.
He told on you.
You was talking about bluegrass music. Bluegrass music kind of got started probably around 1945. Bill Monroe is known as the father of bluegrass music. He started out with 2 other of his brothers, Birch and Vaughn Monroe, and back in the probably late 20s, early 30s somewhere, playing music together as the Monroe brothers. And then they kind of split up. The boys did, his brothers, and the story was that they had so many shows that they couldn't keep them, and so they split up and formed 2 different bands. Bill Monroe called his band the Bluegrass Boys. And back in, I think it was around 45 that he employed Earl Scruggs on the banjo and Lester Flatt on the guitar. And it kind of became known as bluegrass because of Bill's band, the Bluegrass Boys. And people started calling it bluegrass music. And it's really a branch off of Irish, Scottish tunes, folk music, like the Carter family from here in Scott County, and different things like that it's a combination. And Bill put a little bit of the blues actually in it when he started, and you can hear some of it in some of his songs and his style of music. And that's really where bluegrass got its start. And today, there's thousands upon thousands of people playing bluegrass music. And it's a great music because you can play it anywhere. You can walk out in the middle of a field with no electricity, no lights, no nothing, and play bluegrass music. You don't have to have anything but the instruments and the voice, and you play bluegrass music. That's a unique thing about it. You need no electricity. You started out probably people sitting on their front porch playing a banjo or a fiddle. My grandfather, I heard him talk about him, and a fiddle player would go to dances, and they play for the dances, and all they had was a banjo and a fiddle. No guitars, no drums, no bass, no mandolins.
No plug-ins of any type.
No plug-ins. Didn't have any electricity.
Right.
They had coal oil lights, or you know, some type of lighting, but no electricity. And so that's a whole lot of, especially in these mountains, and you got a lot of people that brought the music from their own countries, from Scotland, Ireland, England, all different places, and it kind of integrated into a style of music. Of course, you still got Celtic music, you know, but it's all integrated into bluegrass, what we call bluegrass today. And it's kind of a spin-off of country music, actually. Bill was playing country music until 1945. And it spun off, and he went all acoustic, and that's the birth of bluegrass right there.
This is more of an informative segment. I'm here with Mr. Edwards, and he is going to show us on how to change strings on a banjo and tune it. Mr. Edwards.
All right, yeah. Well, it's not really complicated, but it is complicated. First of all, we're going to take this string right here off, and this is called the 5th string on the banjo, and mounted in the middle of the neck, and it might be just a little hard to get off because it is locked on there, and I usually lock them on, especially on this string, because they have a tendency to slip. And see there, I've got that end loose. I'm going to come down here. And this is a little unusual tailpiece. This is called a bear claw tailpiece, and it's just a little different. And but we're going to change this string, and without changing any of the rest of them. That way you don't have to move the bridge. You don't have to readjust the bridge most times. The bridge has to be adjusted if you take them all off and at one time. But strings come in a pack, most are rolled up, and you have to be real careful when you take them apart and not kink them. If you just unroll them real easy, and soft touch is what it's all about. And hooks on a hook right there, comes here and goes underneath this little bear claw, and come up here, and what I'm going to do is turn this around till I find the hole in the there it is. If we can get this string to go through there, and right like that. And I'm going to roll it up to about right there, just with my fingers underneath, not to have a lot of string left over. And this string winds to my left, so I'm going to bring this string around underneath. I don't know if you can see from the camera or not, but I'm bringing it back underneath this main part of the string, catch it with my finger, and pull it like this. Then it makes a little lock here. Put my finger right there, and then I start winding. And I'm holding it snug as I wind it, and that keeps everything in place. And then this has a 5th string capo on it, so we're going to go under that. So you raise it up just a little bit, and we've got that string changed. Now here's the trick on this particular string. When you cut that string off, if you don't get it real close and try to bend it over just a little, when you're working on the band, when you're playing, your thumb will come by and it'll catch that, and it'll cut your thumb. So we want to cut it real close as I can get to in there. And then I want to take this pair of pliers, cutters, and bend it over. Gets it out of the way. One string changed. change this string. It's just a little different. It's not that much, but it's just a little different. And something I didn't mention, if you notice the banjo is in the case. Makes it a lot easier to leave it in the case, kind of sitting up on its side where you can get to everything. It holds the banjo in place. You're not trying to put a string on and hold on to the banjo and do it all at one time. And there we have that one loose. We're going to slip it right off. And I always wind these things up and wrap them up, because if you don't, you'll get tangled up in them. You'll have strings laying all over the floor everywhere. And once they lay down flat, it's kind of hard to pick them up, really. So this is the D string. We're going to change it out. And you do it this one just like I did the other one. You just unwind it like this and then just let it go. And it'll unwind it so you don't get a kink in it. And we're going to hook it just like we did the other one. Get stuff out of the way. Going to hook it like that. Bring it right through here. Run it right up here. And I'm going to do it just like I did the other one. I'm going to keep a little tension on it. And I'm going to put the string through the hole, if I can find it, like that. And you might can see it here just a little bit better. This string is going to wind, it's going to wind this way, even though I'm turning it this way, because this is a unique set of tuners on this banjo. These are was designed back in the 60s, I guess, probably late 50s, 60s. And these two on this side actually wind backwards. On most banjos nowadays, they all wind the same direction you turn it. But since we're going that direction, we're going to bring this string right underneath here, and you can see it better here than we did a while ago on the other string. And then I'm going to pull the string out, and I'm going to hold it with my finger. And then I'm going to start winding this string. And as you wind it, keep just a little bit of tension on it. It doesn't take a lot, just a little tension to make sure that locks. And that, by looping that string underneath that, it locks that string. It cannot slip out. Now, if I was changing strings on stage, I say I broke a string, and I had to change the string out quickly on stage, I would not lock it. I would just run it through there and tighten it without locking it. But I like to lock them on when I can. And there we go, we got that one. Now this one, I'm going to take this string, I'm going to bend it over. The reason for that is, if you reach up here to do anything and that string is sticking straight up, you're going to poke your finger. So we're going to bend it over, and we're going to take this and go in there and cut it. Like that. And tune it up somewhere close, and we'll tune the whole banjo here in just a minute. All right, we've got the strings on the banjo, and we're going to do a tuning on it. And of course it's out of tune because you just put new strings on it. And then we take it out of the case, and in order to support it a little bit, I'm going to put it on just like that's going on stage. That way I don't have to hold it on my knee. Then might find a pick in here somewhere, at least a couple, to kind of show you how we tune it. And if you don't have another instrument to tune by, we want to tune this thing to an A440 standard tuning. And so if you don't have a guitar to go by, then you need a tuner to tune it to A440. And so we're going to put a tuner on it, and I'll tune one string, and then I'll show you how to tune the rest of it without the string, without the tuner. It doesn't want to hold for some reason. There we go. Okay, that's tuned to G. You would tune that to a guitar to the bottom string at the 3rd fret, which is E, F, and then G. And you would tune this to it. And then we'll tune the rest of it to this string without the tuner. We'll just take the tuner off and just to show you how to tune it. Okay, you want this top string to tune to the 5th fret of the 1st string. Now, to tune the 2nd string, you want to tune it to the 3rd fret, tune the 2nd string to match the bottom one. Just a little high. Okay, we got that one in tune. Now to tune the next one, we want to tune to the 4th fret, 3rd string, noted at the 4th fret, tune it with the 2nd string. That was out of tune pretty bad. So we'll tune it at the 5th fret to the 3rd string. For some reason, so we'll do the 4th string where it matches the 3rd string at the 5th fret. They all they're sounding the same. These two sound the same, these two sound the same, these two sound the same, and these two sound the same. On the banjo, it's the G chord. That's the way you tune the banjo.
Mr. Edwards, if you wouldn't mind, I got a quick question to ask you. You've kind of mentioned a little bit of the background / heritage of bluegrass. What are your inspirations?
Well, as far as banjo, probably Earl Scruggs, Don Reno, Ralph Stanley. Of course, they were the main banjo pickers when I was growing up. And so that's kind of who and there's other guys out there that I respect a lot because they're super pickers. But they were kind of the ones around when I was learning. And I started out on the fiddle when I was 11 years old. And then at about 12 or 13, I moved to the banjo and have been basically on it ever since. And I play currently with a group out of Johnson City called Hollow Ground. We play bluegrass and bluegrass gospel. And before that, I was had a group called the Virginia Cross Ties. We traveled 15 years and about 28 or 29 states. We worked full time at it. 5 days a week, or what you might say, And we wouldn't travel when we was playing somewhere. And but I just enjoy it. I go to jam sessions and have a blast, and meet a lot of good pickers, and just have a wonderful time.
How can you beat just doing something you love,
Yeah, I love it.
Personally, I've never been the biggest bluegrass fan, but the way I have listened to a lot of bluegrass in the past, especially recently. And one artist that I've really started to take a liking to is Ralph Stanley. I'm not very big, familiar and everything, but the notes and the way that he actually puts it out there is what I really respect.
Ralph didn't like to call his music bluegrass. He liked to call it mountain music.
Mm-hmm.
But it's still bluegrass style. He played for Bill Monroe at one time. His brother Carter played for Bill Monroe at one time. So, you know, and it's still bluegrass, but he liked to call it mountain music. And he learned a lot of his singing from the old regular and primitive Baptist churches and the way they sung, and they lined songs, didn't have music. They lined the song and then they'd say a verse and then sing it. And the way they moved the music, because they didn't have music, the way they moved their voices up and down, Ralph copied a lot of that and integrated it into his music. That's the reason he sounded a little different.
I'm sorry to kind of take the tone to a different direction, but I'm a big guitar player. And with guitars, you can, you know, with certain woods and certain designs, you can tell a big difference in certain sounds and certain notes that's being played. I mean, how different is, you know, maybe like, let's say the wood, let's take a maple neck. How different is it, you know, on?
Maple has a tendency in guitars and banjos, this is the maple banjo, and the maple has a tendency to be more crisp, or like mahogany would have a little more mellow tone in the guitar or mandolin or, you know, even the banjo. It just depends on the type of wood, a lot of times, as to what kind of sound you want. And just like the Stradivarius violin, he figured out something that nobody else figured out, how to make that violin and make it sound better than everybody else's, and he did it. And to this day, nobody really is for sure how he did it. But he used the same woods as everybody else, but he done something to the wood. That's my opinion.
Personally, I do more electric guitar work, and my Les Paul is a beautiful mahogany body. And
Yeah.
personally, it's very thick wood, but you can get some beautiful tones out.
Yeah.
But I'm curious also to know, I mean, what kind of strings, you know, how different are the strings from guitar to a banjo? What kind of strings do you prefer?
Well, your strings are for most all your instruments, with the exception of bass, the cores are made by the same company out of Elizabethton, Tennessee. I say basically because there's a few other companies that do make cores. They make their own cores. And some of them got phosphor bronze wrapping, some of them's got bronze wrapping, some of them's got stainless steel wrappings. Each one produces a different sound. And just like on the banjo, I don't like phosphor bronze on the banjo. I want stainless steel. On a guitar, I like phosphor bronze or bronze. You know, so it depends on the instrument too. And you can take his mandolin, put one set of strings on it and play it, and put another set of different brand name on it, and it'll sound different. Sound better or worse, more mellow, more brighter, you know. So it's just depending on what you like, you know, as far as strings.
I would like to hear more about your mandolins that you brought to share with us today, sir.
Well, this mandolin making, it just came about. I had a woodworking shop, and a friend of mine came by. He had built a mandolin, and he showed it to me, and he said, you ought to try one. And I did, and I guess it grew on me. I wanted to build a better one every time. And I don't know if I'll ever build a real good one or not. I'm still trying. But that's the way it started, and that's the way our jam session started. We'd finish the instrument, boys would come in, they'd try the instrument out, and they'd bring their instrument, and the thing, they just kept coming in, and we gave them a big room, I think about 12 by 24 space, and they outgrew that. Then we took Millard was there, and some of that time, we took a petition out, gave them half of the building, woodworking shop, and after we outgrew that, we went down and finished the basement out, put a stage in, and PA system, and sometimes it gets pretty full. We took our garden and made it into a parking lot, and that way we don't have to do a lot of gardening anymore. But that's sort of the way I got into building instruments. I enjoyed woodwork. There's woodworking in my family. My grandfather made furniture back in his day, and I've got an old banjo that he built, and I guess it's over 100 years old. I don't know. But,
Well, if you come back to one of our next shows, you'll need to bring that time. I'd love to see that as well.
Well, it's not like the banjo that he's got. it had, I guess they call it a cat skin on it. And,
Oh,
it didn't have a fret in the neck. I don't know how they found the chords or knew what position to go to, but it didn't have, they played what they call a claw hammer. My mother used to play claw hammer banjo. I remember her playing it. And that's the way she entertained us children, I guess.
But this song is kind of goes with this county, because this county is where this song come from. It's a Carter family song, and every guitar player that's worth his salt can play it. It's called the Wildwood Flare.
Yeah.
The Wildwood Flare.
let's do a little more now. You just got us, you just teased
We
us.
just started.
Well, the bluegrass song that comes to mind as far as banjo music is Earl Scruggs, and one that you heard on the movie Bonnie and Clyde when the car chase was on, and it's called the Foggy Mountain Breakdown.
I myself would also like to give a sincere thank you for coming on, playing for us, and Mr. Hicks showing us your beautiful, beautiful handmade instruments. And I don't, sometimes I don't think people realize how beautiful they are. I mean, when you look at them on the computer, you can only tell half the story, and when you see them in real life, they're absolutely beautiful. But anyway, this was Bridging the Gap. I'm the host, John Akyuz.
I'm Camille Mosley.
Bridging the gap for understanding and respect for bluegrass, country, rock and roll, blues, heavy metal.